Welcome to Baiju's Delhi Sultanate. Delhi Sultanate was an Islamic empire which was established after Muhammad Ghori left and his able lieutenant general, his slave who was later freed, Kutubuddin Aibak, stayed on in India and laid the foundation of an empire which lasted for 320 years and saw a number of dynasties. It saw the Mamluk dynasty. The Mamluks were succeeded by the Khaljis or Khilji dynasty, by the Tughlaqs, then the Saids, and finally Lodi, with the defeat of Ibrahim Lodi in the first battle of Panipat by Babur and laying the foundation of another grand dynasty or empire, that is the Mughals. We will focus on the important initiatives of these Delhi sultans. And going by the recent trend of UPSC, we will focus more on administrative and social impact of these initiatives. Going by the recent trend, we will focus more on the administrative issues the related to these Delhi sultans rather than on the wars and battles. The art and culture, the development of art and culture, which is also a very significant development during the Delhi Sultanate, will be covered separately in your art and culture segment. Now, before moving to the sultans, the dynasties, first of all, let us understand that in Islam, there is only one ruler, that is a caliph. And the caliph is recognized as the religious head of all the Muslims over the world. And nobody can be called as a king. But from 1000 AD, especially after the fall of Abbasids, a number of prominent chiefs, amirs, who were capable but were also ambitious, they also wanted to have the political taste of ruling themselves. So they devised a mechanism and they began to call themselves as sultan. A sultan is a person who or whose position has been acknowledged by the caliph by issuing a what we know as darbesh and giving a chhatr. Chhatr is like an umbrella. So these darbesh and chhatr. Darbesh is also known as a letter of recognition, that is Mansur. And it was not actually that a certificate was awarded by the caliph to the sultans, but the sultans proclaimed that they used to rule in the name of the caliph by reading a khutbah in the name and also by inscribing the message of the caliph on their coins. So, over a period of time, a number of sultans emerged, and the first sultan was Mahmud Ghazni. Mahmud Ghazni was, in fact, the first person who proclaimed himself as a truly independent leader. And then in Delhi, Kutubuddin Aibak, who was earlier a slave, laid the foundation of a grand what you call empire. It was initially by its territorial extent, it was very small, but over a period of time, especially during the time of Khiljis, when Alauddin Khilji even extended the territorial extent beyond the Vindhyas, so it emerged after the Guptas as the next empire. The establishment of Delhi Sultanate was also a resurgence of political centralization in India. So after the Guptas and especially after Harshvardhan, we find in Indian polity, in Indian economy, decentralizing tendency with the emergence of feudalism. Now it was about counter feudalism. It was a reverse trend was emerging, and again rule by a single individual. This, which was the earlier pattern in ancient India, was going to be established. Mamluk dynasty. Mamluk dynasty is also known as the slave dynasty. So, although it is not possible for a slave to be a king, but a slave who has been freed and because of his meritorious service to the master is eligible to rule. Mamluk, the word is used in terms of those child slaves. So, it was a common practice in Central Asia that there was a slave market in which child slaves who were seen to be fit because of their stature, because of their attractive physical attributes, they were purchased, and these child slaves were trained in administration and especially in military warfare to be raised as loyal generals. Because one of the biggest challenges that all the rulers of Central Asia they were facing was the disintegrative tendencies of the tribes. The tribes, they were not loyal to anyone for a long time, because of which they began to raise their own segment of slaves. And one of these slaves were the Mamluks. So Mamluk is the name of a slave. And because Kutubuddin Aibak's story is also like it goes that he was purchased at a very young age by a military general, and later from the military general he was purchased by Muhammad Ghori, and hence because he laid the foundation of this dynasty, it is known as the Mamluk dynasty. Kutubuddin Aibak's his short rule is known as Kutubi dynasty. Then Ilbari dynasty, this is for Iltutmish, his son-in-law. Iltutmish was a Ilbari Turk, again a name of a Turkish tribe, and so was the case with Balban. So the first three rulers of the Delhi Sultanate, they were slaves who were freed and who were given independent charge, because of which they also, driven by circumstances, later emerged and declared themselves to be sultans. Now this will not be the case in terms of the later rulers of the Delhi Sultans. They will be free and they will act in a more independent way. Kutubuddin Aibak was the able general of Muhammad Ghori, who had served his master. He had served his master during the Battle of Tarai. And after Battle of Tarai, when Ajmer was captured, and then Hisar and Sirsa, Kutubuddin Aibak was made charge of administration of the Punjab Haryana region, that is Hisar and Sirsa. After that, Muhammad Ghori went back, and because of which the local rulers, they started rebelling, and Kutubuddin Aibak, he suppressed them and he consolidated the rule and laid the foundation of an independent empire based in Delhi. When Muhammad Ghori died, his territory was divided into his three prominent slaves. Slaves Kutubuddin Aibak, Tajuddin Yalduz, and Nasiruddin Kubacha. Kutubuddin Aibak was given the territorial responsibility of the Delhi Ajmer region. Yalduz was stationed in Ghazni and Kubacha was in Multan, Sindh region. After the assassination of Muhammad Ghori by the Karamatis, Kutubuddin Aibak, who was stationed in India, he faced a number of immediate threats. Threat because of the interlinkage of India's politics with Central Asia. And in fact, it is to the credit of Kutubuddin Aibak and more prominently Iltutmish that they were able to de-link the Indian affairs with Central Asian affairs, because of which they brought a semblance of political stability. So we talk about Kutubuddin experiments, his initiatives with respect to establishment of Delhi Sultanate, because he was not interested more in plundering and running away or enriching the capitals of Central Asia like Muhammad Ghori and Mahmud Ghazni, but he was more interested in consolidating the captured territory. Upon his accession, he was faced with a number of immediate threats. Now, the Khwarizms again are a ruling power in Central Asia who were occupying Ghazni and they were vying for Delhi. The Rajputs who were defeated by Muhammad Ghori, they began to recover their principalities and they were an immediate threat to Delhi. Muhammad Bakhtiyar Khilji, again one of the generals of Muhammad Ghori, was able to reach Bengal, and disguised as a horse trader, he captured Bengal and assumed independence. He declared himself to be an independent ruler. He refused to accept the suzerainty of Kutubuddin Aibak. After Muhammad Bakhtiyar Khilji, his generals were fighting, and one of them was Ali Mardan Khan. When Kutubuddin Aibak heard of the infighting among the successors of Khalji, he took advantage and he declared Ali Mardan Khan as the governor of Bengal. And Ali Mardan Khan in return promised to pay an annual tribute to Aibak and recognize his suzerainty. Kubacha and Yalduz, especially with respect to Yalduz, Yalduz was aspiring to declare himself as the independent ruler Sultan of Ghazni. And very soon, Aibak knew that the moment he would declare himself as the Sultan of Ghazni, he would infringe upon his territorial assignments upon his territorial regions in the Delhi Ajmer region. So he was facing a number of challenges because he was a purchased slave. The nobles of Muhammad Ghori also refused to recognize him as an independent ruler. But he was not going to sit back. We in history books, Kutubuddin Aibak is recognized. He is portrayed as a conqueror and a consolidator. And he did so. One by one, he defeated the Rajput kings and he integrated their kingdoms into the Delhi Sultanate. Ranthambore, Kol, Banaras, all of them were defeated. He also suppressed the ruler of Ajmer, the successors of Prithviraj Chauhan, and he integrated it. Then he controlled Gwalior. He defeated the Gujarat king in 1197 AD and he made Lahore the capital of Sultanate. So Lahore was the first capital of Delhi Sultanate. He knew that he could not win battles with the other slaves who were also recognized by the nobles. So he adopted a different strategy. In ancient times, also during the Mahajanpad, especially with respect to Bimbisara, we saw that besides the policy of conquest, matrimonial alliance or building political alliance through marriages was also a very successful tactics. Same was adopted by Kutubuddin Aibak. Kutubuddin Aibak entered into a matrimonial alliance with two of the other slave family. With Yalduj, he married the daughter of Yalduj, and with Kubacha, he married his sister with Kubacha. So now he was able to closely knit and at least bring some semblance of political stability. He was notable for his law and order. North India, especially Delhi, Punjab, Haryana region, was the platform, it was the playground for internecine wars. So, North India, because there were frequent wars and battles not only between the Turks and the Indians, but also among the Rajput principalities. So, after the decline of Gurjar Pratihara, North India was in a state of mess. So, immediately upon upon consolidating the Sultanate, Kutubuddin Aibak paid a lot of attention in restoring law and order. And it is said that such was the stable law and order and peace in his land that Minhas Siraj, again a prominent historian, Minhas Siraj said that such was the stable system that wolf and the sheep could drink water from the same pool. Means giving a very good example, a corollary that it was all well in his kingdom. Kutubuddin Aibak, he is also notable for his contribution in the field of art and culture. Minhaj Siraj calls him Lakh Baksh because he was very generous. And Lakh Baksh, the word means that he could donate lakhs of rupees, lakhs of currency to the poor. So his generosity has also been emphasized by a number of historians. However, he did not issue any independent coins in his name. In fact, whatever coins, numismatical evidence that we have from this time of the Sultanate, it is about small irregular coins. So these coins had both Sanskrit and Arabic messages written on it. He started the construction of Qutub Minar, which was dedicated in the name of the Chishti saint Khwaja Qutubuddin Bakhtiar Kaki. He had also built the Quwat ul Islam Mosque at Delhi and the Dhai Din Ka Jhopda at Ajmer. He patronized a number of scholars, Hassan Nizami and Fakhruddin Mudawar, in his court. Unfortunately, he did not live long to consolidate and to further his administrative ambitions, and he died suddenly while playing chogan, that is horse polo, and he was succeeded by his son Aram Shah. We do not have much information, and so we will not focus so much on Aram Shah, but we know that Aram Shah was assassinated by his own son-in-law Iltutmish, who assumed the Sultanate throne.